Welcome to Free to Speak, the New Zealand Free Speech Union podcast. Subscribe today for uncensored discussion with truly fascinating people and all your latest free speech news, both here in New Zealand and abroad.
Kia ora, and welcome to Free to Speak, the official podcast of the New Zealand Free Speech Union. My name is Dane Giraud. I'm a council member of the Free Speech Union, and joining us today is Elliot Ikilei, the candidate for Takanini New Zealand First.
Kia ora, Dane. Very honoured to be here and very honoured to speak with you and your listeners.
Fantastic. So, you're with New Zealand First. Now, this is a relatively recent announcement, isn't it? Because you're a former leader of the Conservative Party. You were the co-leader for quite a while. That's where I first came across you and you started making a name for yourself. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so I joined up with New Conservative maybe about 10 years ago and became the deputy leader at the 2020 election. We had the previous leader leave and then I took on the leadership. I think it was for a good solid 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And then I decided to leave as well. So been a lot of fun. And then I joined Hobson's Pledge around a couple of years after that. And yeah, been a wonderful journey. And of course, a couple of months ago, 2 months or nearly 2 months ago, I got announced as a candidate for Takanini.
Fantastic. So, we're going to have a good chat about, your plans, your campaign and everything like that, and free speech. Like, we've got a bit of a history. You were a very fleeting member of the Free Speech Union, which we will get to because, I know we're going to get into it. We had a bit of a pre-interview phone call and we're going to talk about that incident. So that's a teaser for you, isn't it, people? Bit juicy, reason to stick around.
We got the tea. We got the tea.
Did I say conservatives or new conservatives? I didn't say new conservatives, did I?
New conservatives, but I think it was. I joined when it was still conservatives, and then they had a little name change.
Okay. So I shouldn't be too harsh on myself. So they went from the conservatives,
no drama,
to the new conservatives. So like Labour to new Labour. So what was the new about?
I think the new was more about a fresh start because of the drama that was had with the previous leader, Colin Craig. I think the idea was they'd say, hey, new board, new team, new heavy Ford, but still retaining the conservatism that we were known for.
That's not very good though, eh? When you leave, your party has to call themselves new just to rinse the mouth out.
That's my take on why we went to new. But it's possible that the people who really push for the retitling, they might have had different reasons. In my head, I'm a bit more pragmatic and a little bit more Occam's razor. So for me, that's sort of where it comes from.
No, fair enough. Great. Okay, well, look, so we're going to talk a bit about conservatism and free speech and whether there are any bumps there. That's going to be the meat of the free speech discussion here. But it would be good to know what you're going to be doing in Takanini, like I said, because, I'm from South Auckland. I know that electorate, is it relatively new, this electorate, or it's being redrawn, hasn't it?
Very new, yes. So it is a new one. It first came out in 2020. So it's only been running, this will be the third or upcoming to its third movement. It's a swing seat. So at first a Labour person held it. Then it was Rima Nakale from the National Party. It's a very heavily fought for electorate. You will find that the people that they've placed in there, Rima Nakale on one side and then a person called Karag on the other side, it's going to be a brutal fight. For myself, a little bit different. We find if people want to vote for us as a candidate, hey, no problem. Well, what we really fight hard for is that party vote. We're going for the hard values as opposed to a personality and identity.
Yeah, but man, you got a great personality. So you don't want to, to get that party vote, your personality is going to be front and center.
It's pretty cool. I will have to say, I travel around New Zealand for work. And whenever I travel around now, I'm doing meetings with crew who support New Zealand First and ones who have tracked along with my own journey for a while as well. So it's been awesome, been fun. And can I just say to your listeners, if you are listening, thank you so much for the beverages that you have shared with me. I really do appreciate it. But it's been a wonderful journey.
New Zealand first is on the up, and it'll be good to get your take on why. But before that, let's go back to your origin story, because you don't come from South Auckland. You actually come from Glen Innes. So just take us back. Your background, how you came to be. Were you always conservative? Is this something that you were sort of led to at some point? Was there a what is
Mm.
it? Do they call it come to Damascus
Yeah, I was
moment?
going to say
Yeah.
Damascus, road to Damascus.
Road to
Yeah,
Damascus. Yeah,
yeah,
come to Damascus. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I was actually born in Palmy, and mum was a teenage mum. She actually suffered a sexual assault, and then she turned into a bit of a mess. She ended up running off to a place called Bunnythorpe, and that's where she met a handsome young brown guitarist, which ended up being my dad. So my brother and I, we got born that way. We were there, went over to Australia. They broke up. We came back, and then I started my growing up journey in Point England. And I always say GI because people know GI, but Point England's a little sliver on the side. So grew up mostly East Auckland, and then of course South Auckland. Spent some years living in Australia as well. When I started off, I was probably quite an angry young man. My teen years also were spent in Kirikiriroa in Hamilton. And there was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, self-inflicted stuff. And I think I really went off the rails mostly because of the broken homes that I ended up being within. And whether I subconsciously took that as my own fault or not, that's a matter for another time. But
Mm.
I just went down a bit of a dark road, very much a dark path. When I came back, it was through faith. So I became a Christian at age 25. This led me to go straight into youth work. And at first it was all in personal life. So I'd work hard. And then I'd also be working with youth as well, just wherever I could volunteer, advise in advised panels, in advised regional panels, and all the like. Eventually it became a profession. The profession of youth work, behavior modification units, pastoral teamworks, resilience forces, sexual ideation, and the whole raft of things. That ended up leading me into politics. Why? Because I started seeing that we weren't winning overall in terms of the lives and the healthiness, the mental healthiness of our young people. Eh, we were just winning cases here. Did a bunch of study, found out, oh, yep, it's about the family upbringing. And when I looked into the breakdown of the family, found out that it wasn't, as I previously believed, evil white man, colonization, inequities, Treaty of Waitangi breaches. It wasn't any of that. It was how we grow up when we're young.
So you were about that, bro. You were
Oh,
quite.
I was a card carrying, lefty. I would nearly call myself perhaps not a socialist, but at least a socially extremely liberal, which probably goes to my own going off the rails and my own desire to go my own way.
And distrust of the state. Like, see, when I listen to you, bro, and we haven't had this conversation, even though we've been, we clicked there, and it was without even many words. It was a bit unspoken, and like your story is quite similar to mine, but
Hood knows hood.
yeah, hood does know hood. And I think one of the reasons I'm on the Free Speech Union today, I would say, is that feeling of being not listened to by the state, being quite abandoned. It was interesting because that the guys in Counterspin. Well, they did. Who's
You
the
had
host?
Hannah Spear and Calvin Alps, I believe.
Yeah, Alps. He was interviewed by Michael Laws at one point, and I'd listened to one or two of their shows, and I didn't think much of them. That they're very conspiratorial and everything. But Michael Laws was like, hold up. So where are you from? So he started the way we're starting, and Calvin, is it?
Mm.
Yeah,
I believe so. He's Calvin.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He didn't want to go there. He didn't want to go there.
Interesting.
But Michael was no, slow down, and it was so smart of him. He's such an expert broadcaster, Michael Laws. Like he is really fantastic, and he got out of him solo mum Mangere East, and like
I see.
everything clicked for me.
Yep.
I knew where the anger came from. I knew the whole deal from then on. It's that intense distrust of the state that a chap like that he obviously had, but a lot of us do have it, you know.
I think, I think also my favorite band in the 90s won't be a surprise to you. Probably one that you love as well, which is Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
First album, not the other albums. First album. So that became a bit of a mantra for me as well. I just loved it, breathed it. So yeah, I definitely had a very deep mistrust of the state. So, became Christian, joined the youth work led me into politics. It was actually, that's right, it was the breakdown of the family, and a stat that I like to use, because it does form a good basis, is I was an anomaly back in the late 70s. I was born in the late 70s, and if you were born and you whakapapa Māori in the late 70s, you had an 80% chance of being born into a married mum and dad home. So, Māori, late 70s, 80% chance of being born into a married mum and dad home. Well, by 2015, 2016, that had dropped out to 20%. So it went from 80% you're born into a married mum and dad home all the way down into 20%. It's quite horrific numbers, and you'll see that the antisocial stats follow along going up as the married parentage goes down. And married parentage is of deep empirically based knowledge of how a young person is best raised, probability speaking. Yes, if you've raised a single mom, single dad, God bless you, and I hope it goes well. But statistically speaking, the best form of home for a young person is with a married mum and dad, reasonably low conflict family. That's just every single number approaches it. So after that, I found that, well, we did the family breakdown, and then that took me back to 1974, which was a policy, I believe, well-meaning policy called the DPB, which I think unintentionally subsidized solo parenthood. And this came about 6 years, it came approximately 10 years after Lyndon Baines Johnson's The Great Society, where you had solo parenthood being, I would believe, unintentionally subsidized at that point as well. And the same breakdown that you found in the American black family is very similar to the breakdown that you saw in the Māori family in New Zealand. So for me, everything came to Wellington, and that's when I entered into politics. Trying to fix up the youth situation, that led to the family situation. Looking at the family situation, that led to the economic situation. Looking at the economics, immigration and landfill situations and environmental impacts. And eventually it went to constitutional systems, equality, Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, freedom to gather, the fundamental underpinning systems that make the Western culture and the Western civilization the Western civilization. That is the two pillars of ancient Greek democratic style of rule, and that being tethered to Judeo-Christian principles, ethics, and morals. And so that's where I ended up leading into, as my political journey went on, so did my understandings of where the big defenses need to be. This is why I've tracked through how my thought processes have evolved, or not even evolved, if anything, become strengthened, and why my leftist allegiances were, I suppose, carved off. Because as I learned more, as I saw more, as I experienced more, I realized my leftist ideologies were nonsensical when it came to reality and when it came to the umbrella principles that allow us to live, work, succeed, love, and live life.
So that's awesome, man. So what I'm hearing is this: you're working with young people, young men and women. Yeah, young women, young men.
Yep. Different seasons for different parts.
Yep.
So yeah, top tier male youth offenders. Then I think it went to 16 to 19-year-old males, females. Then it went to adolescents or years 17 children of both types. So different seasons, different groupings.
So you're working with them. You're through Christianity and your exposure to these young people. You're you're really identifying that the absence of the family is an issue, but you're probably seeing yourself reflected in all of these kids, or am I going too far to say that?
I think the various pains that occurred to myself would be motivators, I suppose, in terms of dealing with it. And there's atonement there as well, because I did some things during my past which I was deeply ashamed for. And
Uh-huh.
so there's a bit of a the pain that I felt, or the various different little pains that I had coming up. Had a beautiful extended family, I have to say, and my mum and my dad both really did their best to live life and to help my family. But there were just inherent negatives, inherent scarring that you can find from it. So all those parts is a bit of a combination. One is some of the inherent scars that you receive. The other one is the atonement factor, and I'll carry those for the rest of my life as well.
Yeah, well, so will I. I mean, the thing with fatherhood, like I would consider myself left and progressive, but I'm the guy that I give things to the conservatives. I do say things like, well, they're better at that. They're better at that. They're better at that.
Wait, you
And
can't
there's
you can't be a progressive then. You could be that sounds like you're a classical liberal, Dane.
well, I probably am, and the reason why I've traditionally found it hard to vote for parties, to be honest with you, is that for every 3 policies I like, there's gonna be 3 that I'm not gonna like. I tend to take I don't get out my left-wing handbook and go, I'm not allowed to like that. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I try to be as intellectually honest as I can. So
Is the color of that handbook red by any chances?
a little red one. I do my exercises in the morning to the clear, Mal, you do,
yeah.
yeah. But like, for I think the like, especially for young men, when the father leaves, is I didn't have a great relationship with my father. It wasn't a great relationship at all. I wanted him to go when he left, but when he did leave, that's when I went off the rails. And when I look back, I can see that. And I tell you what, I'd walk to school, that whenever I went to school with my friends, and Abe Wharawaka was up the road at the time in Otahuhu. He was on Panama Road. He's the head of the Black Power, for all you people that who don't know that name. He passed away
It's an
about,
old name.
yeah, old name. About 6 years ago, he would have passed away, something like that.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, that's right. That's right. Yep, yep.
yeah. Well, he had a limousine.
Mm.
He had a white limousine, and he would cruise through Otahuhu in a white limousine. Now, we had never seen anything like that, because our fathers were all employed by Westfield and Southdown. That closed down. Once that happened, they're at the pub. There's not a lot of jobs around. There's a real sense of betrayal, because they'd really believed in that Labour government, and then they lose their employment. And we started losing a bit of respect for the old men, because it was like they weren't working, they were absent. And then we see this guy in a white limousine cruising around, and then
Yeah.
we'd wave, try to get his attention, and every now and again he waves back, "Whoa, I'm anointed by the head of the Black Power."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we start thinking, I want a car like that. I want to be driven around in a car like that. And that's where a lot of that sort of stuff started. It's like, he could be my dad. People like that could be the father figure, like, and I'll end up with the great car, and and stuff, because we didn't see a lot of wealth out there. But unemployment, fathers being absent, drinking, and then going completely, and it can be very hard for like a mother with the best of intentions, a fantastic woman, to
Yeah.
hold on to a young man with all the raging hormones and the testosterone that wants to get out there, wants to rough it up, wants to prove himself, wants to prove that he can scrap, and he can be at a level with some of the others and all that kind of stuff. It's a trap, isn't it? It's very tough.
Well, and the thing about a young man coming up, becoming a man, is we require the input of another man to do it. It's actually a requirement that our ladies, they don't grow in the same way. They don't need it. But for men, we need to have someone to follow, to impart to us what are we supposed to do. There's a very big commonality. So if we do not have our fathers or our uncles or our grandfathers, we'll find them. We'll find someone somewhere who will be it. And if it means that it's a Black Power member who's waving out you from a limo, but we also know of what we hear rumors and we hear the grapevine of what gets told to us, we'll follow it. I mean, people would laugh now, but my life was modeled on aspects of Snoop Dogg and Tupac and Ice Cube back in the days where they were viewed upon as the deep core gangsters back then. We emulated. I mean, the Crips and the Bloods that you will find in the youth gangs today in New Zealand, it ain't got nothing to do with New Zealand. That is nothing to do with New Zealand. That is straight copied from the US environment. Straight copied. So if we don't have the men in our lives, we don't have fathers, grandfathers, a male role model, we will find them. And that is exactly what we've seen. And this is going to be a bit of a very sad statistic, but this is born over in Australia and the US. New Zealand doesn't ask these questions. But when you look at a young person who's grown up in a solo dad environment and a young man who's grown up in a solo mum environment, the stats around a young man growing up in a solo dad environment, they are far less likely to engage in criminal behavior, substance abuse behavior, than a young man who's grown up in a solo mum home. And God bless the mums, they're doing what best they can. But the statistics are too loud and too clear that the men need a man in their lives to grow up in some sense of positive formation.
See, that's interesting because a lot of lefties would listen to this and they would absolutely hit the roof at that. They just wouldn't be able to accept it. Women are amazing, but it's got nothing to do. I mean, my mother was fantastic. She was as supportive as a mother could be. It didn't matter. It did matter, but for a few years there, it didn't change me. So it's not a slight on them. That's what people have to understand. It's not a slight on them.
If whenever I bring this up, it always gets a massively negative reaction from the leftists, and a lot of it. So I am often quick to say when I do some speeches in front of presentations with people, I'm often very quick to say I have grown up in multiple broken homes. So not just your solo mum, solo dad. I've actually had solo mum and a solo dad environment of growing up, and even in other situations that's been broken apart as well. So it's important to note that it's just that the way in which we are raised. Now, most of my life was brought up in a solo dad environment, so I did come formed and strong and very independent. Too independent, as it turns out, and also lacking a significant amount of sympathies, lacking a lot of gentleness, of softness.
The nurturing
side. And it was and is a negative in my dealings. So my wife has had to teach me so much over the years. She has had to help build in me to bring back what is this nurturing stuff? What is this gentleness stuff?
It's only now, man, in my 50s that I can even have a relationship. My relationships were fiery, just passion, yelling, terrible. Just, couldn't just rage. A lot of rage, man. A lot of rage, which I try to channel into the writing now, but no, it's definitely that way. Yeah.
We're quick to it. We're quick to think of anger.
Quick to it. It's just, you kind of could tell when someone comes from Struggle Street. It's like,
So, hood knows hood.
Hood knows hood. Yeah, man. Well, okay. Well, this is awesome and very deep and wonderful, man. So you are with New Zealand First now. So how did that opportunity come about? Was it hard for you to move from, and I knew there was a few years off for you, but what attracted you to New Zealand First? Because they are sort of Peter's is a bit Muldoonist. There's a mix there of some left ideas, state ownership and different things like that. But I guess economics out south, South was always quite socially conservative in many ways. It was the economic side of things that was more on the left side. So, did you? Was any of that hard for you, or have you found the fit
No,
right?
I've
I
been
mean, what attracted you?
so 2020 went. I left the party just in the very start of January 2021,
And that's a
and
New Conservatives. Yeah,
that's when I was there. When I
yeah.
was with New Conservative, and then I actually spent the next couple of years just repairing the family because in my campaigns I had damaged the family by always being out there doing the fights around the whole country, battling away. When I was at home, I was talking with other candidates and talking with other crew, helping to train them, build them, be pastoral. So even when I was at home, I wasn't at home. I did damage.
Didn't have
So
that
it was
balance yet. Yeah.
yeah, there's just no balance whatsoever. So 2021 until now, I would say, I've been present. I've made sure I'm there. We made sure we got a new house. Made sure that I was at the at the grounds and as much as I could do, just really focusing on the family. Then, of course, in 2024, 23, 24, I joined Hobson's Pledge. But it was around about that time as well that I really liked what I was seeing from New Zealand first. And it really seemed as if they had, in my opinion, fixed up what had gone wrong in 2017. I fought against them in the 2017 to 2020 campaign system, but I still kept very strong links with them as well because I respected them and I liked them. And so I kept on those. I've talked to some of them for years, many, many years. Uh, I loved what I saw. Talked with one of my friends who is Casey Costello. She was doing some wonderful stuff over there, and then we sort of moved together. Me with Hobson's Pledge, New Zealand First, traveling forward. I was keeping very close eye on them, and the policies they were bringing up, beautiful. It was exactly aligned with things that I wanted. Not 100%, but almost exactly
Oh,
in line. And really enjoyed what I was seeing and the wins as well that they were taking. And I think what also was really cool was in Hobson's Pledge, we would expose things. I would be pushing it out there, and then New Zealand First Act, and then to a lesser extent National, would come to the party, pick it up, and then change laws and policies for it. Now, if they want to say, "Oh, that's ours," hey, thumbs up. We don't care. We just wanted to expose the event, bring it out to all the people, make a bit of noise, and then let the politicians do what their job is to do. And that's exactly what we saw happen. I love the strength I was seeing from New Zealand First. I've always been an admirer of Winston Peters. There's actually
he's hard
three
not
people.
to admire. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But there's three leaders in the history of the world where I've really liked, really liked, and that would be one of them would be Sir Apirana Ngata, the other one would be Winston Peters, and the third one would be Lee Kuan Yew, who is the Singapore, a great man of Singapore in many different ways. So I was very closely watching, very loving the policies, and then what? Earlier this year, I spoke to Casey again. I said, I don't know, man, people are bugging me. People are on my X and on my Facebook, and I've even had some comments saying, "Hey, man, you need to be a candidate of this party. What is wrong with you? Everything you're saying here, these guys are doing. You like what they're doing, so what's the deal?" And so I had a chat with Casey. Casey kicked my butt. she, she was very strong and said, duh. So that was awesome. So I moved through, just with the practice, and everything just sort of slotted in line. It was one of those real crazy times where doors open, things slotted into line, and here I am. And yeah, when God willing, if the people send me to Parliament, I will be going in there with a bit of a flamethrower. So if
Yeah.
it happens, it happens. But for me, it's also I'm also philosophical. If I get in, awesome. I'll be coming in there fist raised and let's go. Let's throw some metaphorical. Let's throw some hands. And if I don't, sweet. I will go back to Hobson's Pledge and we'll fight even harder, expose more. So I don't know, it's a win-win.
Did you have to be anointed by Matua? Like,
No,
no?
no, he's busy as that guy.
Mm.
Oddly enough, I actually met him and it was in my high-vis gear, and it was at the airport. That's the first time I actually met him, and I just had to roll up and he's, "Oh, matua, just want to say, love everything you're doing for our nation and our people. Love it, thank you." I didn't want to get into a discussion with him about,
He'd have to know that you were in, though. I mean, like, he's not. He'd be.
We've done the official, so at the Whale Samoa in Māngere, there, he officially gave us his blessing and anointing. But beyond that, I'm not sure. That guy is busy hard.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because maybe it's just a perception I have, but I think myself and a lot of other people have a view that, like, it's his party. Like, whatever gets said, whoever gets approved, whoever's in, it's because he made it so, or is it?
I think he has set the bones of it. So 1993, when they first got set up, he's made sure that he's led the charge. So he is one of those leaders who holds that flag and he guns it, and then the team follows on behind him. But I've realized that was a misconception I had. I thought that it was, Winston first and that was it, I don't think it is. I think he has built a powerful, solid force, and this is where the Lee Kuan Yew thing comes into play. Lee Kuan Yew also, he led the charge in Singapore. He built a strong party. One thing that you find that I don't think is a very good thing is in many of the political parties, they'll swap leaders out constantly. The personality will come, they'll go, they'll come, they'll go, they'll come, they'll go. But if you want a solid party overall, you do want to have a strong leader who is a strong core in there, and then have a strong, solid team to flow through with it. So your infrastructure and your processes and your compliance and all of that needs to be in it so solid, because the people who are in those other positions are solid. Matua Shane Jones is pretty solid. Doesn't need to be, toying along with Matua Winston. Fire Casey, again, solid and strong. Doesn't need to be focused. And then you've got the other guys, Julian Paul, the president, Derek Ball, the chief of staff, and now the campaign manager. These are all hard-bitten veteran warriors themselves who create this strong, solid unit we call New Zealand First. So I think he's got the right people.
Well, but there's something very particular to Winston Peters too that not many politicians can claim, and that is that he can sort of maneuver away from a policy and almost jump onto the other side as if it never happened, like, and he can ride it out. Like, not many people can do that.
Oh, he's got a very powerful will, and how he changes his mind. If he does change his mind, he's got a very powerful way of doing it. And
he's unapologetic. And
he's unapologetic.
He's unapologetic, and I think there's a lesson in that. I mean, we want to be courteous, but he is unapologetic and can and just okay, I'm here now, and just I'm steaming on,
There were some things, and this comes back to when I fought against them back the last decade. I've come to see, not by being told something's repeated, but I've been able to come to see why he chose certain decisions back then. And I've tried my best not to have my own confirmation bias on it, where I'm like, oh, well, I just want to believe this because I'm now with the team. No, I've been doing my best to step back and have a look at it. And I do, on the whole, not in everything, but on the whole, I see why he made certain decisions in terms of how to go, who to go with, and everything like that. There were some things I disagreed with, but I am so on board now, and I've seen that they're so in line. That's why I spent 3 years just sitting there and watching and testing and checking. 3 years before I decided to make that big plunge, or accept the prompting of making the big plunge into candidacy.
I would say a political party has a degree of flexibility that, say, even like the Free Speech Union just doesn't have, and this is where, we can upset some supporters because we're holding to the principle that can't bend, or else our organization isn't really worth the paper it's written on. And so we're gonna upset everyone at some point in time. It's just the way it is. I guess you could argue a political party can do that too, but I think that there is an acceptance to it. Supporters want you in power.
Mm.
So they will they'll understand compromises if they get what they want, which is to get in power. It's harder for an organization like us, where it's all about principle, Well, like
When I was with
Mm.
when I was with Hobson Pledge, I know exactly what you mean. There were sometimes the Hobson Pledge where and I don't think I'm being dodgy. Not dodgy. I don't think I'm being naughty in saying this, but I was not the biggest fan of David Seymour's Treaty Principles bill.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I liked most of it, but I could not stand, I think it was section 2 that he had. And on that one, he wrote down, and I'm paraphrasing here, that, yep, we got to make sure that everyone's going to be treated equally. But if there are currently discrimination practices in place now, as per, as in certain iwi, not Māori, but certain iwi are going to have extra fishing rights or extra land rights or veto powers, whatever they might have. He said he basically made it so that would stay, and I'm dead set against that because it's like, well, no, it's not like you can have. I don't like using the word, but you're not going to say, well, let's get rid of any apartheid practices, but we'll keep some of them. How does that work? It doesn't.
Well, yeah, it would have been. I mean, we're talking about dismantlement at that point of quite a few systems. That
I'm happy to dismantle anything that treats one particular person as better, more important, discriminating someone based off their whakapapa. I have deep problems about that.
Oh man, we've been talking. We're almost running out of time, but I got to get to this question. Got to get to this question. I've got to give you because you've got a question for me. Can a conservative truly support free speech? And let me just qualify this because there are two types of conservatives. There is the conservative that is not a fan of the big state, very concerned about overreach, and is probably more on the libertarian side. That person I can see could be a free speech supporter, but someone, dare I say, like yourself, who is a traditionalist, am I wrong? Right or wrong?
I'd say so. A Burkean type. Yep.
Yeah. So a traditionalist, a religious. Will you run into limits there? Like, is it like once you had total power, what does the country look like? If you had total power, are you still permissive of the views of, say, the woke or something like that? Like, are we kidding ourselves a little? I'm being harsh. Are we kidding ourselves a little bit when we say that conservatives like that can support free speech?
Oh, absolutely fair. Yeah, great question. And I'll evidence my parameters as well, because when we speak about freedom, when a conservative speaks about freedom, they're not talking about a heavy duty libertarian style of freedom, which is my might makes it right. I will take what I want if I can take it. We do have parameters. So a conservative believes that the excesses of the individual and the excesses of the government need to be restrained. And so the conservative seeks to have a pullback factor on all of that. And within that realm, let everyone hustle, fight, and be okay to war as they need to. Now, I was a part of the Free Speech Union for, I don't know, I think it was days, I think. And it was great. Loved it. And I have absolutely zero negativity about not being able to be a part of it anymore. And that's because of my stance. When I debated with Professor Paul Spoonley in Wellington, he made a comment saying, well, Elliot, what about a pedophile? Do you think it's okay for a person to defend pedophilia as a okay ideology to bring? And I stated back to him saying, absolutely, as long as I have the right of reply in the same manner. So I can show and tell everyone how devastatingly debased and debauched and disgusting that is, and with reason why. So there are elements of that. Why? Because that's within an adult environment. It's within an environment where you can choose to listen, choose not to listen. So you've got that basis of free speech there. I don't have a problem with that. Where I do have
we
a
need
significant
to leap on to these teaching moments as well.
yes,
I mean, you'd agree
yes,
with that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
We
got to
need to
leap
have
on
these
them.
these levels of discourse.
They're opportunities. Yeah,
Because I find pedophilia disgusting. I
course.
don't care what anyone says. It's just utterly wrong.
Mm.
But I want people to feel if they want to bring it out in a discussion, perhaps in the university environment, to bring it out in the environment, as long as we've got the right to reply back to
yeah,
that.
of course.
The other one, though, the one where I absolutely have, I say, no, free speech is not acceptable, is within places of vulnerability, such as children and other perhaps even neurological difficult or neurodivergent sort of people. So my issue came in from the drag queens and the drag kings coming in there and speaking to the children of schools and in libraries. The issue that I had was that these are children who are listening to extreme fringe LGBTQIP plus isms of a very sexual and sexualized manner, and performed within a very heavily sexualized costume design. And that one was, I said, no, that is not acceptable. As far as I'm concerned, that crosses that boundary of free speech. And that's outside of the universal idea of defamation and, the old screaming fire in a movie theater type of system. So I think that as conservatives, we are discriminatory to the protection of vulnerable communities. Now, that word vulnerable also does need to have a bit of universality to it. For example, vulnerable, me saying that transgender men and women are not what they say they are or having issues with what they are biological men and women with a psychological condition. That is a very okay thing to say, even though it might be contentious. Why? Because if we get to a certain age that we've, as a society, agreed is the age of development, we should be able to handle and to have these discussions. And if it's in contexts that is acceptable, great, thumbs up. But children, no. If you're a child, no, that does not come under it. That's where my line is very clearly drawn.
Yeah, interesting. Well, so in our defense, so drag queen story time. Now, the issue with drag queen story time was that ultimately we viewed it as as basically connected to the whole Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux case that started the Free Speech Coalition at the time. Neutrality in public spaces, right? So this is a public space. Some adults want to hire it. Some parents want to take their kids to it. Who are we to get involved? Now, if there was a law change and it was made illegal because there was enough evidence to say that there is nudity or content that is going to be undoubtedly should be restricted, then it's against the law at that point. We're not going to do anything about it. We're not out there trying to force kids to watch R16 films because the law says it's R16. So, we don't tend to, we might say we'd like to change that law one day, but we're not going to, take we could never have made a decision and taken a passive role and saying, well, we'd like a law to be passed to ban this. So we're not going to be, but people on the board had many different opinions on it too. My issue was, personally, I can only speak for me here, a lot of people had seen a lot of really disturbing content in the US on Facebook and everything, and that was enough for them. But they just did not, we didn't have any evidence, there's no real evidence that this was happening here. From what we knew, these drag performers were just reading books to these children. So that was one thing. But the other thing, and this is something for religious people to consider too, if a parent wants to take their kids to a show like that because they think it's going to make their kid more accepting of difference and things like that, and it's not illegal, who are we to get in the way? Because trust me, there are plenty of people out there that would say that the fact that my children were the circumcised, you know, go to a synagogue that has Zionist rhetoric. If they could, they'd disallow that. They would disallow that. So sorry, let me finish. So there's a concern there, man, because the thing is, and this is the problem of free speech or censorship. Once you open the door to telling these parents what they can do, that door is ajar now. And once that door's ajar, they could very easily slip through it and then say, you can't take your kids to church anymore. In 30 years' time, in 20 years' time, who knows? We just don't know the way the political winds are going to blow. So as tough as it can be, you know, you wouldn't do it. I wouldn't necessarily do it. One of the reasons why I would never take my kids to something like that is because I don't believe kids need to be taught acceptance. It's adults that need to be taught acceptance. Kids accept anybody. So I don't buy the whole thing of like, I got to put them in front of this. I got to take them to pride parades or else they're going to be homophobic. No, I don't believe that at all. You know, this is something, if an adult might need that. I don't believe a kid does. Kids aren't like that. They'll accept anyone. Their kids aren't racist. You know, they might say to the little brown boy, "Oh, you look like a chocolate bar," but they're not saying that because they're racist. You know, they're just making a bleh, you know, kids are like that. So yeah, but that would be something I would say that especially the religious need to be a little careful of. It's like once you're telling other parents who they can and can't take, you know, to various shows, then, you know, that could come back to bite them. But prove that these things are super inappropriate, then, you know, take it to a minister and try to get the law changed. If you honestly believe that that's what's happening and feel you have the receipts, you know, that's people can lobby the way we lobby, you know. But yeah, so that would be my defense.
My part on that one would be then they should have bought their own high-ridge studio and not utilize a public land for it, something which ratepayers fund and taxpayers fund, especially when it's quite offensive to the sensibilities of a vast majority of the crew.
Yeah, but when Stefan Molyneux and Lawrence Southern are the same. I mean, they're going to offend a lot of people.
Obviously, that goes actually to my point, which is Stefan Molyneux and Lawrence Southern, they had a contract where they could speak out, and they were had the bully veto placed upon them. And so you had, on one hand, you had the Mayor Phil Goff say, "Nah, not in our areas," which was quite shocking, and it is because it wasn't targeted towards children. It was targeted towards people who could choose to be a part of it and listen in. But they all had age of consent, they had reason, and as a society, we deemed that everyone who was going to go to those people had a reason of sensibility with them. Whereas if it's a drag queen system, it was being aimed and targeted towards children. Those were the specifics of it. All the paraphernalia was about it, the advertising was about it, the marketing was also strongly for it as well. The other one that I would say is what we did see during those times with drag king, and it still happens now. They try to push it through different areas, but in sneaky ways. What we did see within that was a guy called Chanel Lau, who of course went after the Christians in their very churches and their homes and pushing the gay conversion bill, I think it was called, which is now law. So if a young person perceives that they are having same-sex struggles and they go to a priest or a pastor and says, "Hey, could you pray for me because I'm having same-sex struggles?" And if that pastor then prays for them, it is within the scope of the law that they could be found guilty of that within the church or indeed within the home on the dinner table. I think one of the adjectives of it was the dinner table bill, something like that, where if a young person has an emotional outburst of it, then the parent or the priest or the pastor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist can be found guilty under that particular act.
I tell you, ironic about that because I've spoken to Bob Croskrey about it. Georgina Beyer, who I befriended, did not believe that any medical intervention should happen for young people. And she said she would have spoken to thousands of parents in her life about this.
And she would be found guilty of
She
that
would be
if
found
she said it
guilty.
too
Yeah,
loud.
no, that's yeah, but that is a concern because I think that the Human Rights Commission was given they had $2 million to find. They found one case of conversion therapy 10 years ago or something like that.
HRCD's abolishment.
It's problematic. But the issue there, and this is I don't believe it's doing the trans movement any favors. I hate calling it a movement as well. They're individuals.
I'd call it a movement.
But it shouldn't be a movement. It should be individuals who are making individual choices about the way they want to live as adults. But the issue with where I think it's damaging them is that, a character like Chanel Lau views censorship as a tool to get what he wants. And that's only going to create a backlash.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to push back actually on something you've just said, which is that we should allow the trans individuals themselves should be allowed to live the lives that they want. Now, once they're adults, out of our hands, I think out of our hands, do whatever.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
But what I mean is I do not believe that the issue that they have with their own bodies is because I've seen that gender identity disorder / dysphoria, which it used to be called, it really was a more accurate statement, which is, I hate my body so much. I have so many issues with my body. And it seems that this crew over here that we're calling men or we're calling women, that it is better for me to go over here because it will help to ease my anguish over my body dysmorphia. That's what we see. And I've worked with plenty of transgender kids over my years. And the studies have shown that if they get decent counseling, over 95% come to be all accepting of the gender that they are grown up with. And so when we say you should be able to live the life that you want, when I say that they're adults, so we hands off, I don't even mean it in a decent way. I just mean that, well, I can't do anything. You've got to make that choice or not. And the stories of detransitioners is heartbreaking when they realize they've been sold a lie when they were 14, 15, 16, 17. And so it goes back to how our fixes and the way that we ascertain certain parts of someone growing up as a youth. If we get it wrong, we've now got them on a pathway where when they do become adults, what they say they want in their true selves and their authentic lives and their truth and all that is, in a form, a disservice that we've done in their youth because it's just tracked on through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. Like, I mean, the irony too is that all the way I view this topic has been influenced completely by Georgina Beyer. Completely. Everything I say is what Georgina said to me, really. I was convinced. I was won over. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And her whole thing is, not for kids because most of them would grow out of it. And she talked about that study. That study started in like the early 70s or late 60s.
Oh, the longitudinal one. Nice.
Yeah, it's been done for a while. Yeah, and it's around 80% will return to their original, if they're young, will return to their original gender and just they may be gay or something like that. But a lot of them don't stay with it, which is a real concern. But the problem is censorship. And who does censorship hurt here? Does it ultimately hurt Elliot Ikilei? Does it ultimately hurt Dane Giraud? It ultimately hurts the young people who are involved in this. It even hurts adult trans people because if we can't talk about it at all, if society can't, if the whole thing is completely shut down, we're never going to get good policy.
Yep.
We're never going to get good health policy or anything like that.
Well,
so the victims really, I mean, you and I can walk away from this at any time. you know, they can't. And some of these decisions, the tires haven't been kicked on, mean that an adult trans person can be caught out with a health system that's not going to look after them because it hasn't really been tested. No one's been able to talk about it, challenge it, make it better.
Yep. Well said. Well said. How many trans adults were aware before they transitioned that the vagina, the fake vagina, is actually a wound that needs to be continuously cut every single day? How many do they know that they've got to have skin grafts ongoing? How many know that that pills it for life? How many? Tavistock is a good example of where censorship has had such a detrimental effect on the lives of thousands, actually. Thousands. I mean, right now there's a class action suit with well over 2,000 families who are now put together to attack or to, I think it's sue, or the equivalent of suing the NHS. New Zealand needs to do a lot more in terms of having the information, and as you say, being able to speak about these things, speak about everything.
Look, yeah, I mean, my concern, and a lot of the haters aren't going to believe this, but my concern is that this is something that ultimately is hurting them more than anyone else, because you cannot get good policy if you cannot have discussions. You're never going to get the right policy. You're never going to get it right. You're never, all the, hey, have you thought of this? If none of that stuff's allowed, if it's like, well, I've thought of it, but I can't say anything because I'll lose my job, then who ultimately suffers from that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing with censorship. And the other thing is that if you are roaming around trying to get everyone censored and banned, it's just creating so much ill will towards your community. And right or wrong, it's like, let's say wrong. It doesn't matter. If the ill will's there, it's there. If it was arrived at badly, with contemptuously, and it shouldn't have been, you got to let people speak.
Yep.
Because again, like, I don't want to be, the Jewish community cannot be associated with censorship. That will hurt us. People will, I mean, Bondi's a good example. Everyone straight away, the Jews want to silence us. First thing they said, and this is meant to protect us. And the first thing they were saying is the Jews want to silence us. So, yeah, I mean, it's like a minority, the Free Speech Union's trying to save a lot of these people from themselves in many ways, man. Yeah. But you talk?
No, I had a question, but it's a naughty question because it just popped in my head.
Oh, man. I'm not good at naughty questions.
Okay. And I don't quite remember, but I think in New Zealand, speakers have been stopped from coming here if they hold views that say that anti-Holocaust, or there are ones where they say Holocaust didn't really happen, it was a Zionist lie or Jewish lie, whatever. But I do know in some countries, I don't know whether New Zealand's one of them, but I do know that if you come to New Zealand or come to another country and your very push is to say there was no Holocaust, it was just nonsense, some mythic conspiracy theory, then that's not allowed. And I'm curious as to what your take would be on that, especially as a Jewish person and the free speech context.
Oh, yeah, I got an answer there. David Irving wanted to come over. I don't think he did end up coming over in the end.
That's right, he didn't.
Yep. The Green Party at the time, Keith Locke, and Namdor and all those guys, that era, wanted him to come in. Free speech. Because these were older lefties. So the old lefties were all free speech. When it's offensive, we know that, but he should be allowed in. Free speech. Because if you can ban him, eventually, you've opened that door once again to censorship. Now, Holocaust education is not in a great place. It's not in a great place. So once again, this to me would be a teaching opportunity. we can't trust these matters to be settled. It's settled. I don't want to discuss it. No. These things do flare up again and again. The anti-Semitism we're seeing now is the anti-Semitism we've seen before. It's got a slightly different complexion to it, but it's very familiar. Here we go again. But you got to, because in a free speech society, nothing is ever settled as well. Because people can just start talking at any time. So as wearying as it is for many people, no, we've got to get back in the trenches when this stuff happens. But no, we bring them out here and we debate them. And we show them why and how they're wrong. I think that's what you do. So no, I would defend a Holocaust denier coming here. I know a lot of people in the community wouldn't like me doing that.
Yeah.
Many would understand why I was doing that. Many would understand why I was doing that because, as soon as yay, we successfully banned this guy. Well, it's like, why do they want to ban him?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
It's a pedophile argument.
Yeah. He must have had a bit of truth. He was going to shame them and that they didn't want the debate, because that's when the woke don't want to debate. You and I straight away think,
to it.
Yeah. They just think that we're going to waste them. Yep. That's what we think. So why wouldn't the other side think that? So no, bring them in, make it a teaching moment.
Yep.
Take the opportunity.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
That's what you got to do. So it's not a naughty question. Nice try. You got to. Yeah. Oh man, we've been talking for ages, but I still got to ask you, Takanini, what's your ground game, man? Who are you going after? Because it's a complex seat, isn't it?
Oh, very complex. Yeah, it is it's going to be very viciously fought over. If you're talking about demographics, the age is pretty middle of the road. So it's not like young, which is, for example, in the Manirewa electorate or the Māngere electorate. So it's very middle of the road. A lot of families. Some areas very strongly in terms of racial or ethnic composition, very strongly Indian in the Flatbush, Hobson areas. And then you've got other areas which are your older.
Oh, so you're right down to the back of Otara as well.
Well, it crosses from almost in Flatbush, then it wends its way down into Takanini proper, and then it ends up at Wattle Downs by the golf course in Southside.
It's a weird shape for an electorate.
Yeah, it's weird. It's this weird.
It's sort of snaking over.
Yeah, snaky. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
But it's going to be fun as I reckon. I can't wait to see, because you got, like I said, Labour National, they're going to be having hefty fights in terms of their electorate process, the candidate process. They're going to go viciously.
And you're going to have great fun. You're going to bust through the middle like
I'm going to
go
right. Yeah, man.
Bump them off.
Pretty much.
Oh, well, look, you got the personality for it, brother. You know that. So, just knock on those doors, shake those hands, shake every hand in Takanini, man.
Boom.
Yeah. Shake both of them.
Shake both hands. Very good.
The due diligence. That's how Nikki K beat Judith Tizard in
That's
Auckland.
right. Yeah, that's right.
She shook every hand. Rest in peace. She was a good
rest in peace, definitely.
Yeah, good MP there. She shook every hand. She did the work. Did the work. Yeah, but you're the man, dude. So all the best for all of that. And it's been lovely talking to you, bro. And we'll get you back on. Maybe get you on a panel. We have a bit of a hearty discussion, and we can have a good chat around the world with other people as well on the podcast. Because sometimes we can have 2 or 3. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
No, I love it.
Thank you for listening to Free to Speak. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider sharing the podcast with others. We release new episodes regularly, and subscribing is the easiest way to stay up to date. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, you can contact us at podcast@fsu.nz. If you want to find out more about the New Zealand Free Speech Union, visit fsu.nz.